Hey guys, this video once more has a super weird format because halfway through I decided I was just going to post it on Instagram and now I've changed my mind and it's going up here anyways. So if you enjoy bread baking or watching me cook on an open fire, this is a video for you. If you don't, just skip that one because it is kind of weird, and I'll see you in the next one. Making bread is kind of a very time-intensive process, so I usually like to get started bright and early, and here I'm literally listening to my morning lecture as I'm prepping, and I'm just combining the starter with water and flour and creating this like shaggy dough mixture that I then leave to autolyze. I think that's what the process is called, and then I just come back and give it like a fold every 20 minutes. A fold is basically where you stretch the dough and fold it in on itself, then you turn it by 90 degrees and repeat that step, and I'll put a bit more information in the description as well as the amounts I'm using, and I'll also link a pretty amazing tutorial of someone that knows much more than I do about sourdough, and I would highly suggest checking that out. And then I actually had to do a quick outfit change because I had an in-person meeting to go to right afterwards. And I'm just prepping the bread and then I'll bake it when I come back. So I'm just getting out the dough. I let this rise for about 20 minutes at a time. Then I do a couple of like folds in on itself, and then I let it rest for another 20 minutes. And I do that 2 to 3 times depending on how much time I have. And now I'm just shaping it into a bread form. And I'm trying to get like a high tension on the surface, so you can see like the bubbles start to come up as I'm dragging down the surface of the dough, so to speak. And then I'll just pop this in a warm spot in my kitchen for the next 6 to 12 hours. Usually it's pretty much 6 hours because then the day is kind of over, and I'll just let this rest and bake it when I come back. Since I don't have an oven, I do my baking on an open fire, meaning I have to get the fire going first and put my Dutch oven on it so that it can heat up to the right temperature. Before I put the pot on there, I always save some coals so I can put them on top later, but I usually end up building like a second little fire on top of the oven anyways. Then to get the bread ready, all I do is turn it out on some parchment paper and shape it to better fit my Dutch oven. And add a cut down the middle so that the heat has somewhere to escape and it doesn't burst in a random spot, but it has this sort of guideline to follow. And then I just plop it in the Dutch oven and add some coals on top just to have a better heat distribution. I also make sure to turn the pot about 2 to 3 times while I bake it because it does take a long time, and if you have fire on only one side, this just helps it bake more evenly. Honestly, baking on an open fire is a bit unpredictable. Sometimes my bread takes an hour, sometimes it takes almost 2 hours. You just have to keep checking on it and find something to do in the meantime. In this case, I decided to practice my juggling with pine cones. the bread will start smelling like bread when it's getting like closer to being done, and it will also turn the right color. But I also always like to do what I call the knock test, where I basically try to hear if the bread sounds wet, and then I try to push down on it to see if it is firm. And it takes a bit of trial and error, but if I can figure it out, you can figure it out, and then you have homemade sourdough bread from your campfire. Thank you so much for watching and joining me on this little adventure. Like, subscribe, and say hi in the comments, and I'll see you all next time.